Hello, my English 101 students. We are going to start Unit 2 this week, so I just wanted to do a little introductory video as to what Unit 2 is going to be about. Unit 2 is about social media. It asks you to take a deeper look at social media and examine the habits that you have, the habits of others, why we use social media, what the advantages are, what the disadvantages are, etc. To best prepare for this unit, I've asked you to read two articles. The first article is titled Growing Up Tethered by Sherry Turkle, and the second article is titled The Quagmire of Social Media Friendships by Curtis Silver. So if you haven't done so already, please be sure to read The Quagmire of Social Media Friendships by Curtis Silver and respond to discussion post number 2. Discussion post number 2 is already on Canvas, but here it is again. After reading Curtis Silver's article, The Quagmire of Social Media Friendships, please reread the excerpt below and respond to the following tasks. Curtis Silver argues, as we put more of our lives online, we bring the people in our networks up to a higher sociological level in our brains because we somehow feel they know us. Personally, I don't even start to classify someone as that until I've shaken their hand in person. While there are plenty of people online that I'd loosely consider a friend, the harsh truth is that they are ghosts in the machine. He goes on to explain that social media friends do not always align with his definition of a friend. A friend is someone who cares about you, not just the fact that you exist, but the fact that they contribute to your existence and the quality of your existence. So based on your interpretation of his argument and your own experience with online friends, do you agree or disagree with his analysis of these relationships we build on social media? Explain using at least 4 to 5 complete sentences. Part 2, respond to at least one other person on the Canvas discussion post. Your response can be a question, an agreement, disagreement, compliment, etc. Please refrain from extremely short responses as they will not count for full credit. You will also be reading a chapter from the book Alone Together by Sherry Turkle. The chapter we are going to be reading is called Growing Up Tethered. This is already available on Canvas. Discussion post number 3 is based on this reading. Discussion post 3. After reading Sherry Turkle's Growing Up Tethered, respond to the following questions. 1. In the beginning of the article, Turkle is interviewing some students about the use of technology and if they consider it an interruption. She says that what she deems an interruption, the student she interviews would deem the beginning of a connection. Do you agree with Turkle's point of view or with the students? Explain using at least 2 to 3 sentences. 2. Sherry Turkle says that because the youth are tethered to their cell phones, they don't face the same pressures to develop independence that we usually associate with growing up. Explain what this means using at least 2 to 3 sentences and reference Turkle's reasons. 3. Turkle was a clinical psychologist and says that if 10 years ago she had had a patient that called their mother several times a day, she would tell them that they had separation issues. She explains that she wouldn't say that now. Explain why. So let's go through the Unit 2 social media PowerPoint together. Again, just a reminder to complete discussion posts 2 and 3. If you haven't already, try and answer journal entry number 7. How does social media and technology affect our lives? What kind of control do they have over us? Think about your own experience with social media. Has it made you a different person? Are you the person you present via social media? Explain. What are some consequences of oversharing on social media? Please respond to these in your journal. Here's a short table of contents for the PowerPoint. We are just going to briefly go through it. If you want to go through it in detail, it is available for you in the Unit 2 module on Canvas. So let's define social media. Social medias are technologies that facilitate sharing of information and creation of content in relation to just about anything via virtual communities. This content can be connected and related to literally anything imaginable, and it allows us to share it through these virtual communities that we often call our friends. Let's talk about some words that are often associated with social media. Friendships, influence or influencer, screen obsession, screen time, fake, emotional distractions, control, identity. These words above are often associated with social media and social media users. Do any of these words ring true for you? So keeping those words in mind, let's go over a couple of questions. 1. Have these behaviors above always existed in our society, or are they only present now because of our ever-growing dependency and obsession with social media and technology? As in, Have we always had issues with influence, obsession, people being fake, being controlling, identity crises, or are these problems that purely exist because of social media? Is social media just the new platform for these behaviors? Are we becoming worse because of the anonymity and level of distance technology and social medias provide? Think about the safety of hiding behind your screen. Let's fill the gap of knowledge. What does it mean to fill the gap of knowledge? Well, this means that you are going to learn some background and context about the subject of social media. This is going to help you best prepare for your essay as it will give you the necessary knowledge to make sense of the unit and the readings. Please take the time to watch the following videos. Video number 1 is called Quit Social Media and it's by Dr. Newport. It's a TED Talk. Once you complete this TED Talk, you can review the notes on the following slides. Video number 2 is called Are You Living an Insta Lie? Social Media versus Reality. This is a much shorter video. It's about 3 or 4 minutes and you can find it on YouTube. Now that you have some context regarding the topic of social media, let's take a look at essay number 2, Social Media Arguments, and what it's asking you to do. Introduction to essay number 2, Social Media Arguments. Essay number 2 asks you to write an argumentative essay about some area related to the topic of social media. That's it. It's entirely up to you to decide what you want to talk about. Keywords: social media and argument. It must be related to social media and it absolutely must be an argument. What is an argument? An argument is a basis for discussion. Its purpose is to convince readers that your personal stance on a topic is something to be considered as reasonable. If nobody is going to disagree with your stance, then it is not an argument. To help you narrow down what you want to argue about, the following slides are a list of possible topics for argument. If the topic is written as a question, as you can see on the right, you would just turn it into an argumentative statement. For example, should there be stricter restrictions on the social interactions of children? Would be turned into an argumentative statement form. There should be stricter restrictions on the social interactions of children. To take a deeper look into examining what social media does in our world, we have to think about the different things that are connected to social media. So as I mentioned earlier, I am going to show you a list of topics, which is what's going to be coming up next. Please take a look at the topics and I would look into the ones that you think that you connect to the most. This is going to make writing the essay a lot easier. You're going to be more interested in it. Let's take a look at some possible topics for argument. I'm going to go through a few of these. You can argue that the existence of social media has created an alienated society. Employers should scan the social network profile of employees. Or employees should scan the social network of potential employees as part of the hiring process. Social networks make a mockery of private life by publicizing everything. Social networks are being used to spread propaganda and hate messages. This is very broad. Obviously, you can specify politics, etc. People present a different projection of themselves on social media. So maybe you want to argue that people project a version of themselves that they aren't really in real life. Does social media encourage those false identities? A topic: effects of social media or social networking on the developing mind. Another topic is just social media and politics in general. Are we addicted to social media or are we addicted to not being alone? Think about Sherry Turkle's argument. Has social media desensitized us? Think about what we see on television and the news and social media that's constantly being thrown in our face. Now that we have gone over some possible topics for argument, here's a list of absolutely off-limit topics. Social media has made communication better or anything related to changes in communication. This simply is not an argument. Comparing previous methods of communication to more recent times, negative or positive effects of social media in general, as in here are the positives and here are the negatives, or here's what's good and here's what's bad, not an argument, so we are not going to write like that. We are going to stick to argumentative topics. You really want to argue things that people might disagree with, that might open up new conversations about social media, that could inform the users of the risks of social media, or just to kind of teach people a little bit more about social media by bringing in your argument based on the research that you're going to do. Now that you have reviewed this introduction to social media in essay number 2, please read the prompt, which is the next file in this module. Let's take a quick look at the prompt, which you will also find next in the module. So essay number 2, social media and argument. Make an argument about social media. It's entirely up to you to decide what you want to talk about. You should have reviewed, dozens of options in the PowerPoint. Be sure to choose a topic you can write up to 4 pages about without being repetitive. It should not be so broad that you cannot focus your argument. but it should not be so narrow that you find yourself struggling to write about it. Using multiple sources. So you will have to use at least 3 supportive sources. This means all 3 sources must support your thesis statement. One of the sources must come from class. I will put 6 to 7 articles on Canvas. You can pick from any of those articles by Turkle, Silver, Shirky, Browning, Kaplan, Tatum, or Hudson. 1 must come from outside of class. This means you have to do your own research. And the 3rd can either come from class or from your own research. So if you use any sources as counter arguments, they do not count as part of your 3 supportive sources. Just keep that in mind. Guidelines. Write a fully developed thesis-driven argumentative essay, at least 4 to 5 pages, double-spaced in length, answering all parts of the prompt. Regardless of your topic, you need multiple forms of supportive evidence by using details, personal experiences, briefly and only when relevant, readings, at least 3 articles, all of them must be articles, statistics, expert opinions, etc. This essay must be in MLA format, including in-text citations and a works cited page. Let's talk a little bit more about using multiple sources and how you're going to do your own research. You will have to use 3 sources to support your argument. The first source must come from class. I am going to provide you with about 6 to 8 articles that you can pick from. You will have to use one of them in your essay. The second source will be your own researched source. You can research the sources through the school's library database, which you have access to at home. If you are having trouble with research at home, remember that you can still utilize the library in 2 ways. The first way will be to sign up for a research workshop through the library website, which will be right down here. You can also use this same website to contact a librarian and get help in using the databases that we have through the library. This unit will be built like the rest of the units in the class so far. You are going to find it in modules titled Unit 2 Social Media. Remember that the first thing you want to do, as always, is to read the page that says Read Me First. This page is going to list out all of the details necessary to understand Unit 2 and how to complete the module correctly.